been learning about value investing, finance, just regular investment for a while now, but you don't know where to go next. You're getting confused about the vast amount of information on the internet. You don't want to waste your time on crap information. You want good information and reliable information. In this series of videos on value investing and finance education, you will find those answers to those questions and much more. My name is Jason Rivera. Welcome to Value Investing and Finance Education. Hey, Jason here at ValueInvestingJourney.com, here to tell you the 8 reasons I will not be investing in the upcoming $2 trillion Saudi Aramco IPO. Before I get to that, I need to tell you that this video is available as a podcast anywhere in the world for free on all major podcasting platforms: iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Anchor, and more. At the I Love Value Investing podcast. I Love Value Investing is the podcast. Available anywhere in the world for free. Okay, today I'm going to tell you the 8 reasons I'm not investing in the upcoming $2 trillion Saudi Aramco IPO. I put $2 trillion in quotation marks because $2 trillion is the number the Prince Mohammed, the ruler of Saudi Arabia, wants to get. It looks like it might be a $1.5 trillion IPO, somewhere in that neighborhood, when it actually hits the market, if and when it actually hits the market, because this has been planned for 3+ years now, and it keeps getting pushed further and further back. So this is a big if Saudi Aramco finally does come public, here are the 8 reasons I'm still staying away from it. Number 1, it will still be heavily influenced by the government of Saudi Arabia. I don't like investing in governmental or semi-governmental agencies or semi-governmental run companies. Governments change, people die, coups happen, military actions happen, things that are out of my control happen. I don't like any kind of semi-governmental agencies whatsoever. I don't invest in those situations. Never have I invested in a situation. I can't think of a reason why I ever would, because there's too much uncertainty when it comes to the government and essentially single people or groups of people having too much influence on the company. Reason number 2 is we won't know if their financials are 100% accurate. This is one of the main reasons the IPO has been pushed off. It's been kind of talked about since 2016. It's been pushed further and further back because the underwriters, and I don't know who's rumored to underwrite this one, but underwriters are companies, typically JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, huge companies that underwrite these IPOs. And one of the main reasons this IPO has been pushed back further and further is because allegedly Saudi Aramco isn't giving enough information to these companies to be able to underwrite the IPO properly. I don't know what the truth is, but if I can't, it's probably somewhere in the middle, but if I can't trust that I'm getting the 100% accurate information, I stay away from it, or I'm going to stay away from it. In this case, that you don't know if you're getting the 100% correct information, even though the company allegedly says it made $111 billion last year, and it's on track to make something like $80 billion this year. $111 billion in net income is about double, I think, off the top of my head, what Apple makes. And Apple is about a $1 trillion company, around that neighborhood right now, as I'm recording this video. Saudi Aramco is, as soon as it IPOs, again, if it does IPO, it will be the largest company on the public stock market in the world, surpassing Apple, surpassing Amazon. But if I don't trust the financials, I'm not going to invest in it. Doesn't matter what the prospects are of the company. Number 3, most of the proceeds from the IPO, according to the kind of initial documents or rumors, I guess is probably a better way to put it, most of the proceeds from the IPO will not go to the company. So here's where the kind of semi-governmental agency thing comes in. into play in even fuller effect is most of the proceeds from this IPO, again, if the IPO happens, will go to what's called the Public Investment Fund in Saudi Arabia. It's run by Prince Mohammed. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here to make sure I get this right. Who rules Saudi Arabia. The fund is, quote unquote, directed to get the Saudi Arabian economy off of its heavy reliance on oil. It's going to things like building a major city, futuristic city, investments in infrastructure, I think was one of the things on there, investments in renewable energies, those kind of things. It's getting Saudi Arabia's, or it's supposed to be getting away or investing in investments that get Saudi Arabia away from its heavy reliance on oil. IPO proceeds should go to the company, in my opinion, as a public shareholder. If I read something that says explicitly most of the proceeds will not go to the company directly, they will go to these kind of other investments, I'm not going to invest in it. Number 4, oil's inevitable decline as the world's fossil fuel energy of choice, its downfall is inevitable. Climate change, renewable energies, public opinion around the world, whatever the case may be, whether you agree with all of this or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to oil, coal, natural gas at some point. They won't probably 100% ever go away, but the world's use of them is going to decline, is declining rapidly already, as things like solar and wind and thermal and these other kinds of energy. I saw a commercial for ExxonMobil investing in algae as an energy source yesterday, and these all lead to decline of oil. And again, Saudi Aramco is the biggest oil company in the world, so that's another reason I'm staying away from this company, is because even if it invests reasonably well in its other investment areas, its cash flow generation is the bulk of it. Again, I haven't looked at financials because they haven't released them yet, but the bulk, probably at least 80% would be my guess, of their financials cash flow comes from oil, and that is declining reasonably rapidly over the last 10-20 years, and it's going to continue. Number 5, the decline in the overall Middle East kind of market. If you followed this blog for a while, or these video posts for a while, or the blog, or our YouTube channel, or my personal Facebook, whatever, I've been doing more business in the UAE. And these guys, typically, they don't just stick to the UAE, they kind of have a feel for and do business in the other Middle Eastern countries. The overall Middle East, from my connections, again, this is anecdotal, this isn't anything statistical, anything. This is anecdotal experience based on my connections in the UAE. They say not only is the UAE economy declining a little bit, or pretty significantly depending on your sector, but they say it's affecting the overall Middle East right now. So, in my opinion, it's not a good time to invest in, this is another reason to not invest in Saudi Aramco, is because the overall Middle East is in a bit of an economic decline, depending on, again, your industry, it affects highly, or depending, the decline affects your industry highly, but there is an overall decline in the Middle East, again, according to my connections in the Middle East. Number 6. Oh, and two kind of, again, not necessarily these are a little bit more factual than anecdotal, might get just kind of connections. Fitch, the rating service, downgraded Saudi Arabia's debt rating from A+ to A in September. And the unemployment rate for Saudi Arabian nationals in Saudi Arabia is 12.7%. If your economy is doing great, you don't have unemployment rates of 12.7%. So that's another reason. Those are a little bit more factual reasons that show that the Middle Eastern or the economies in the Middle East are declining, at least a little bit. Number 6, juicing of the holding of the stocks for the residents of Saudi Arabia. What does that mean? Again, rumors, because no official docs have come out yet, are that Prince Mohammed, again the ruler of Saudi Arabia, has announced that if Saudi Arabian citizens buy Saudi Aramco shares when it becomes a public stock and they hold it for 180 days, which is 6 months, they will be essentially gifted more shares at the 6-month mark. This is to keep the stock price high. This is to essentially inflate the stock price a little bit so it doesn't fall past a certain level, whatever level they determine. And it's not necessarily manipulation. I wouldn't go that far, but it's not necessarily in the best shareholder interest of all shareholders or stock markets or whatever. They're playing a little bit of a game where, and I know underwriters do this all the time, where they get a holding period and they can't sell for 3 months, 6 months, whatever. But when it, again, comes to the government saying that and essentially enticing citizens of their own country to buy shares and then hold them, that makes me uncomfortable as an outside shareholder, because again, not only are we not sure about these other things, this makes it kind of seem like they're trying to play a game to keep the share price high. Again, I know other people do this. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't personally like it, even when those kind of companies do it. I get it from that perspective, though, because they don't want to compete. They are competing with other companies to get to underwrite IPOs, and maybe some of these other IPOs will have a conflict of interest. I get it. Again, I don't necessarily like it. That's just a personal preference of mine. So, number 7, instability of the Middle East, kind of geopolitically. Again, so this goes back to the recent attack on Saudi Aramco's oil fields. The Saudis continued kind of verbal sparring with Iran. Saudi Arabia's actions in Yemen and funding that bloody civil war, that kind of stuff. Again, I don't get into politics here. I have thoughts on that, but I'm not going to share them here. But again, the instability in the overall Middle East, and specifically when it comes to Saudi Arabia, is another reason I will not invest in this company if it IPOs. Number 8, I made another video about why most value investors do not invest in IPOs. If you want to know my other reasons, because these aren't just the only reasons, if you want to know my other reasons, watch that video. It will be linked below, whether you're watching on YouTube or the blog, or if you're listening to this podcast, it should be linked below. If not, if my team doesn't put in the link below, go on the Value Investing Journey blog and search the reason most value investors don't invest in IPOs to get my other reasons. But these are 8. I mean, these are significant issues in and of themselves, these 7. And then when you put on number 8 and why most value investors don't invest in IPOs, there are a ton of reasons why I will not invest in this company. Again, if and when it does IPO, it will become not only the largest company in the world in terms of public stock market cap, will also have the highest net profit in the world, and I will not invest in this company for these 7 reasons, and the 8th listed in my other video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Again, let's run down them real quick again. Government-run, heavily influenced company, won't know if their finances are 100% accurate. Most of the proceeds will not go to the company, or most of the proceeds from the IPO will not go to the company. They'll go to other outside investments. Oil's inevitable decline as the world's major energy source, decline in the overall Middle East market, juicing of the holding of the stock by residents of Saudi Arabia, the instability of the Middle East kind of geopolitically, and specifically when it comes to Saudi Arabia, and the other issues I outlined in my other video that I mentioned. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know if I missed something. If you think I made a mistake, let me know. If you think I missed something, let me know. If you liked the video, let me know. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, love, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we release a new video, and we release 2 to 3 videos a week typically. If you have a question, make sure to comment. I read and answer all the questions myself, and I would love to hear your thoughts on anything that I talked about in this video. Again, if I missed something, I would love to hear about it too. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure to like, love, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. And thanks for watching so much. I hope you liked this video. Hope you learned essentially why I will not be investing in potentially the world's largest company in terms of public stock market cap, world's largest, most profitable company in terms of net profit. I will not be investing in the IPO if and when it does happen. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks a lot. Hope you had a great day, or hope you have a great day. Talk soon. Bye.